Like I said, one of the things that I heard when I was taking on this job is it's going to be lonely at the top. But I decided to do this slightly differently. I choose to remain vulnerable. I choose to share my problems with both my team and my peers. There are some answers that I can lead with, but I'm happy to execute on better ideas that come from elsewhere.
Most of these women are in rooms where power works against them. They internally self-negotiate.
Yeah.
They do not understand the value they bring to the table because the entire ecosystem has told them that they bring less value than they actually do.
I've now come to realize that there is no one success formula. There is no one destination. Just try and be a slightly better version of yourself.
Hello and welcome to Stree At The Table. Women in leadership are redefining the corporate sector, breaking barriers, and proving that the C-suite isn't just for men. But the journey to the top comes with its own sets of challenges. And today, we're speaking with someone who has navigated them with resilience and success. Aparna Iyer, the Chief Financial Officer of Wipro Limited, is a powerhouse in the world of finance and strategy. Her journey from starting as a chartered accountant to leading the financial helm of one of India's biggest IT giants is nothing short of remarkable. But what makes her story even more special is how she has done it, with grit, resilience, and a deep belief in empowering women in the corporate world. In this conversation, we will dive into her journey, the challenges of navigating leadership as a woman in a traditionally male-dominated space, and also her thoughts on what it takes to rise to the top. Plus, we will get her insights on the ever-evolving finance landscape and what the future holds. So, let's get started. Welcome, Aparna. We are so delighted to have you at Stree At The Table.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I've listened to your earlier podcasts and it's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. I read about you first on LinkedIn, of course. And then I called my friend and said, we have to speak to her because your journey is all about sticking it out, resilience, all of that. And of course, we'll go into it.
Yeah.
But to know that you are, a chartered accountant and the way you have risen there is so much to see, observe, know, and kind of pick your brains on. How have you done it? So it was very interesting to us.
No, thank you for saying that. And I feel the same way, right? Like if I can share tidbits of my journey and it can inspire someone or someone who's looking for, has some self-doubt and here's my story and they feel a connection and that can help, then why not?
Yes. And then, you say something so important that I've also looked at some statistics. Till about a decade ago, even 2000, women were like 8% of those who were trying to be CAs. Or, came to a certain level. Today, we've got like them floating between 35 and 43%, which is a lot. But I remember the time because I was doing the similar course. There's a strange kind of positive and negative affirmation that is coming. One is that belief that women are not naturally good at math and anything analytical, but also simultaneously that because it is all books, women will naturally excel. So there is this confusing feedback that the world is giving. And finally, everybody's supportive because at least she's studying.
Yes.
And this is better than her going out and doing these 5 things. There's intense studying and all. Was that similar for you?
So, I was very clear that I wanted to be independent. I wanted to have a job. I wanted to be financially independent. And that's something that I think my parents had drilled it into both my sister and me. They said, we are their biggest investments. Right?
Wow.
So I felt very responsible that, I must accomplish something. Right. And, I took on commerce because I liked math, but I wasn't sure if I had it in me to deal with physics, chemistry, and biology. It was a very simple thing where I felt, listen, I think I'm good at math. I like to do commerce. My sister was pursuing science. I just felt I wanted to get into business management studies. I wanted to do an MBA. And that's where I was headed. And then my father actually nudged me and he said, why don't you take on chartered accountancy, simply because he was in a bank and you could get transferred anytime. So it was all taken in for perhaps convenience decisions.
Yes.
But I think I was built for it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed economics. I enjoyed accounting. Once I took on commerce, I knew I'd made the right choice because it came to me far more intuitively. I think, so two things, right? One, my parents didn't stand in the way. They didn't say, oh, you must pursue science, which is a big thing with Indian parents, because I'd got reasonably good scores in 10th.
If you were smart, you had to take science.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, naak kaat de.
Yeah. And especially, we came from this, a culture where all my cousins were in Chennai and everybody had to take science and get into either engineering or medicine.
Doctor.
Yeah. So that way, when I had good scores and I said I want to take on commerce, and my parents didn't stand in the way. They said, just take up anything, but remember, you need to excel. And I think I made the right choice. And, then there was no looking back.
Yeah.
So you are right. And I think it is, I do feel women are more organized. They're more methodical. They're more structured when it comes to their time.
Yeah.
Not just like as students, but even in the workforce.
Yes.
I see women far more focused because they're handling multiple things. And that does come in very useful for a course like CA, which is very intensive. And you're pretty much on your own because you're not actually going into a college, right?
Yes,
so you have to have your own discipline.
There's a lot of self-regulation there.
Self-regulation. I think that's where I feel women, in one way to look at it, we're more compliant.
Yes.
It comes in as an advantage, but I think you've got to look at it like every virtue has a meter.
Yes.
Like when it tips over, it comes in as an impediment, but at the right meter, it can actually be a virtue.
Yes.
So I think some of these things really help, and that's why you're right. We at the campus level, we are able to induct 48% of our workforce that we take from the chartered accountancy campus. And we take in about 120, fresh chartered accountants every year.
Excellent.
And nearly 50% of them have to be women. I mean, at least that's the ratio we want to start with. And I think that's one of the steps we make sure if we can do that, we would like to do that.
That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal because it is showing your intention to make it a structural thing and not something that's being derived from a personality. And that is what power really can do, right? If you can use power in a way to change a structure.
Absolutely.
You have moved in different levels in this structure. You came and you're right that women tend to be more compliant. And so some kind of education, there are certain kinds of things that come better to us than the others.
Yeah.
But you, through your trajectory, have also shown that you were not just compliant. You definitely not. But you did understand how to move through the system. Yeah. And you adapted to different levels of order, power to continuously ensure your rise. How was that journey for you? Because we're also talking about 2 decades that were very different from where we are standing today.
Yeah, the journey has been incredible. It has taken me like 20 years to, get here.
Yeah.
And, I've had my full career with Wipro.
Yes.
Right from campus to CFO. It's stuff made out of dreams. Right?
Absolutely.
And so one way of looking at it is I've been incredibly fortunate, which is true. But like, my boss says, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely.
So there is 20 years of prep.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you said, several roles. And one of the things that you do right is to join a good organization. When you're a young student, coming out of campus, you have high ideals. Okay. If you're able to join the right organization that has the right set of, foundational like values, fundamentals that can be drilled into you, into what is the right working environment, then you benefit from it, right? And I think my first 5 years of Wipro, I just benefited from a truly open, transparent organization.
Yes.
My CFO in those days would just pull up a chair and sit right next to me in my cubicle, wanting to understand an analysis that I've made, which I found both intimidating and empowering at the same time.
Absolutely.
I was always told that your voice matters, right? Point of view was very important. The more conviction you had, the higher you were rated, right? So I think it's important to recognize these leadership values in the formative years.
Yes.
That have a point of view, don't hold back, develop that necessary skills of articulation to bring out the point at the right time in the right way. And never, I call a spade, because I think one of the important things as a finance professional you can do is really be the mirror, right?
Yes.
That's the first. And then you get to the solution. But just making sure everybody is in that, and I think data can drive objectivity in conversations. And that's something that has always been imbibed as a part of just the Wipro finance. Right?
Yes.
So those are early formative years of corporate governance culture. The fact that you have a great set of values, which are the bedrock of the institution. So you always knew that anything gray is black. So that just sticks to you. Like there were posters all over the campus which just said that anything gray is black, and that just defined, what governance
of the Wipro
meant.
campus.
Yeah, saying that integrity is absolutely the number one thing that
is such a joy to a young person.
Exactly, and that's something that we took pride in, saying that yes, compliance is number one, and we follow it more in the spirit than just in the letter of it. Two, even within that, we could drive innovation, right? And we believed in driving the best outcomes within the boundaries that are set. And I think that's what innovation meant, that it's not boundaryless, but within those boundaries, within those contours, there was always excellence in outcomes that you could drive. And we were always pioneering in that. And I think that's the spirit that gets set in. So,
yes, but you are also talking about a company that is, it's not a small company. It's like right up there on top on performance. It's deeply seeped in values.
Yes.
Right from the founder, Mr. Premji, to the way the organization runs, there has somehow been a beautiful, seamless trickling down of what value-based profit making can look like.
Absolutely.
Which is probably so rare you could count those kind of companies, on your two hands.
Yeah.
So that is something that's very, very remarkable. In that kind of system also, while everybody is tuned to, thinking that gray is black, there is still business pressure. There is still performance pressure. And usually finance and compliance teams are not the most famous, the most popular, the most loved people in the room, because you're putting the boundaries.
Yes,
you're showing the mirror, and the mirror is not always what I would like to see. Yes, it's not pretty.
Yes.
So, however, and being a young person in that kind of India, the growth that we saw in those 2 decades, and Wipro was leading it. What are some of the things that came your way that were tricky ones? Like an instance or an anecdote also would be great.
Yeah, let me tell you one incident, right? We were in a large deal, and I was doing the pricing, and I was also leading the commercial negotiation of that large deal. And we got shortlisted to the partner that they wanted to work with. They wanted to visit India. And just then I realized that I'd made a mistake in the pricing and the commercials. Something that was supposed to have been done, for a monthly pricing. I'd assumed it would be the annual pricing. And I was petrified. Someone, who was just a few years, 5 years into their career, I thought this is it, And when I took this problem up to my business head, the first thing he did was he called the team and he made sure that everybody took accountability of fixing the problem. He asked the salesperson saying that, you go and figure out what do you think is the right price? Do you think we have underpriced? Do you think the client will be okay even if we had to, is there a part of the scope where we had done this mistake and that we dropped? Can we rescope? And then he took me out of the problem and he said, forget what mistake. Now, how can you help in the solution? How can you look at this commercial structuring in the next go, in the next round differently. And we eventually won the deal with the right kind of margins because we got into the solution mode. So two things I learned, right? I think it's important to take on risks with eyes wide open, right? And as long as you know what risks you're taking on, I think it's very easy to get to a solution to mitigate it. And you don't need to have the solution on that day, but you will eventually find it because, you're actually purposefully, constructively driving the team towards solution.
Yes.
As opposed to either being blind to the risk or being in denial or, blaming, right? And these are very simple, you spoke about anecdotes. That's really what drives growth.
Yes.
Right? You do have to take on risks.
Yes.
It will always come with its share of unknowns. And as a leader, I do, those are the lessons I've learned.
And those are the lessons you're also extending, clearly.
Absolutely. Like, let's walk in with our eyes wide open. Let's not shove things under the carpet.
Yeah.
Let's be humble enough to understand saying these are the unknowns.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yes.
And it's also then an important mature dialogue as opposed to, so that's the balance I think you need to drive. And like I said, in your formative years, you're learning.
Yeah.
And then you know how to deal with these situations with a little bit more composure and calmness. But you're right. It's impossible to feel good every day.
Yeah.
And, the organization does look up to the finance function to really know, how are we doing? Because that's where the picture really comes together.
Yes.
And I feel that weight that, I need to, keep everybody happy. But sometimes, we fail, right?
Yes.
And I think it's important to contextualize it in a manner that is also hope-giving.
Yeah.
Right.
But what do you do on those days? Not simply as an executive yourself, but also as someone who now people are watching.
Yeah.
On the days mistakes happen, or you have to give the bad news, or you just cannot allow for something that everybody else is so excited for.
Exactly. So, like I said, one of the things that I heard when I was taking on this job is it's going to be lonely at the top.
Yeah.
But I decided to do this slightly differently. I choose to remain vulnerable. I choose to share my problems with both my team and my peers.
Yeah.
And there are some answers that I can lead with, but I'm happy to, execute on better ideas that come from elsewhere.
Yes.
And I think that makes the process very inclusive. It also takes away the burden of what a job like this can do quarter after quarter.
And it makes you less lonelier at the top.
Yes. And I do also feel that teams feel involved.
Yes.
And therefore, when someone feels more involved, they come to the problem with a sense of ownership than just, we are here. It's transactional, I'm going to try my best.
Yes.
But if you can appeal to that, I trust you, to do this, people do magic.
Yes.
Right? Because they go a little beyond, the professional realm to say, can I do more? More?
As a leader, you are also participating in what you said, ensuring that at hiring levels, you are ensuring that there is an equal participation.
Yes.
You are selecting in a manner that there is an entry. Even in your organization, do you see women dropping out at important junctures of their personal lives? Because overall in the industry, we do see marriage and then children. And then the last, which is very India specific, is 10th graders.
Yeah.
Where women, this is a very unique India problem.
Yeah.
Where women drop out in large numbers at 10th, when children are in 10th grade.
Yeah.
Because it's so formative or decisive for them.
Yeah.
So do you also see that within your company or your industry?
It's funny that you say it because, I'd also thought to myself that I'm going to take my career easy when my child hits this grade, 10th grade. And you're right. And I think it's a very
real problem. It's not made up.
It's not made up. And the competition in India is not funny. right? And, I look at, how I aced a professional examination 20 years ago, but it still gives me nightmares if I had to do it again.
Absolutely.
To think that our children will go through it, and that's something, and so therefore it is a real problem.
Yes.
Right. And women do play a role, mothers do play a big role. So these are all, what you've said is right, but I benefited from having a right mentor or a right boss who felt that, after my maternity, I should come back into a role which is very intensive. And the way he told me was, listen, I'm going to give you the best team and I'm going to take on the additional pressure. You come back. Right. And I said, I don't want to do this role because this role demands me to be available to both you and the CEO 24/7. And I've just come back after maternity, and I'd rather do things like maybe something that's a little 3 degrees away, maybe audit or assurance. And I was told, no, you'll come back to this because this is where I can keep you close. Now, I benefited from something that my boss did in his capacity. But I feel as an organization today, we're doing a lot better. We have specific programs where we make sure we handhold women who are getting into maternity and 12 months post their joining. And in the last 2 years, we've had 99% women come back to work.
Incredible.
And that's something that we take a lot of pride
99%
in.
is off the charts. I don't think it's anywhere else.
And even those, and we run another program where we know there are some women who have fallen off. We have this program called as Begin Again, where we take in a hiring for women who want to come back. And then we put them through boot camps, intensive trainings. And we feel that the retention rates there are nearly 80%, which is also not bad.
No, it's
because,
very good.
When someone comes back, they're really low on confidence.
Yes.
With a 6 months break, I was fairly disillusioned for the first 10 to 12 months. So I completely resonate with the program. And that's something that we take pride in.
Yeah.
I'm glad, corporates are more sensitive and have programs like that now.
Yeah.
But it's also critical.
It is.
If you're not going to do this, how will you be the 10 trillion economy that you aspire to be?
Yes.
Today, other economies are waking up to the fact that as population growth phases out, they're looking at adding women into the workforce. It's best for a country like India to start today. You want to be that 10 trillion economy. It ain't going to happen unless and until you're able to keep the women whom you're hiring.
Absolutely. And you are in a leadership position. You have spoken of, a very supportive corporate culture that ensures women don't just stick around, but they aspire to do. Their ambition is not diluted.
Exactly.
Which is, again, a second problem, right? Women stick around and just showing up every day so tiring that ambition goes down the drain and you don't even realize how stagnated.
Exactly.
Then it comes to a point of, is this even worth it?
Is this even worth it?
And that's like the circle of complete depression that then sets in, and women are unable to come back. Yeah. But an equal responsibility of to avoid something like this falls on our home environments.
Exactly.
Right. And it takes both, because any one of them rocks us too hard, the equilibrium completely shatters.
So there are 3 or 4 things, right? One is just the DNA, right? I mean, we're born with a certain, set of genes that have been like imprinted, right? There are reasons why women think a certain way. I mean, we're born with that.
Yeah.
2, like you said, where we are born, in which family we are born, and how progressive that family is plays a huge role.
Yes.
Right. And then the society at large. Even if your family thinks differently, you're going to be constantly
judged.
Yeah. And you need to overcome these. These are not like barriers that are visible, right? But they're there.
Yes.
An example is when I joined Wipro, we didn't have the technology we have today where you can book an Uber or an Ola or like a, ride hailing taxi app. I had to work. Now I had to make the choice. Do I stay back like my other male colleagues and help in this closure? and this critical role
Yeah.
till 2 a.m. and then figure my way out. Because, you always had a choice. The last cab that the company was providing was leaving at 12. You make that call, let me stay back. And but these are choices that you have to make at that particular hour. And you're
Yes.
so fresh and you're so confused in your head.
Completely.
Sometimes you take that call like, I'll take that auto back home. Today, when I look back, I think, how did I have the courage to do it?
Yes.
Now, this is not a barrier that's visible, but it is there.
Yeah. that's-
Someone could tell, oh, if you didn't want to travel,
You shouldn't have.
you don't stay back. Go
Yes.
home.
Yes.
So and so will do that job. Or they may not even make it as explicit. But will I feed into that stereotype that I'm not dependable for certain roles?
Because my time is up.
Because
Yeah.
my time or, how I,
Yeah.
feel that day, it is true. We have a different body clock. We have different set of hormones. We operate differently.
Yes.
Now we actually tend to overcompensate for that, thinking it's actually a limitation. That itself is a stereotype, and nobody's telling this to you.
Nobody
openly.
is. Yes.
But it's working on your mind.
Yeah.
You're always compensating for certain set of inadequacies that you think.
So guilt
Yeah.
and overcompensation
Yeah.
is almost like hand in hand every second of the working
Yeah.
hour and home hour.
Yeah. And I think today conversations on that
Yes.
are liberating.
Mm.
I think, the difference between 20 years before and today, 20 years ago, we didn't even have the access and reach
To talk about
to
it.
talk about it.
Mm.
While we did have, role models who would write books and you would understand, but you understood it from a Western gaze, right?
Yeah.
You didn't really have as many, support systems. But today,
And as
thanks
many
to
Indian women who were out there who you could see an Anuaga, and then
Yeah.
you could see nobody. You could see, Kiran,
yeah,
and you could see there were these far and few women. And the problem with making them aspirational or, almost idolizing them is you always feel they could do it, so we can't.
So we
Instead of they could do it, so we can.
So we can. And, and it isn't new. I mean, I think even women who've been in these positions have felt maybe other women can't. I'm an outlier.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But things have changed. And I think that's what the power of technology does.
Yes.
Today, hybrid working can actually make it very level playing.
Yeah.
The power of internet, the power of bandwidth, you can log in from anywhere.
Yes.
Safety is not a concern.
Yes.
Right? Today, we're talking about very gender neutral conversations like well-being.
Yeah.
You don't really have to be apologetic about how you feel because it's not just the women who are feeling it.
Even the men
Thankfully,
are.
the conversations are also on the other gender.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have them.
Yes.
In Wipro, we take it very seriously. In fact, we just recently changed the concept of sick leaves to well-being. Saying, if prevention is indeed better than cure, then why not?
Yeah, then do it proactively.
Do it proactively.
Yes. I believe that, and I do believe that to a large extent. But in the last 6 months, and I'll just take 2 minutes of your time on this. We had 3 in-person convenings where about 50, 60 women in different levels of senior career roles, either career roles or starting their business. We've had one in Delhi, one in Bangalore, and one in Mumbai. And these women are all, average age would be 35 to 45. And we thought we will start with a seemingly soft topic. So we said, okay, the art of saying no.
Okay.
And in the first 20 minutes, the questions that started coming were so fundamental, so basic that my heart started breaking for these women who are 35 and 40 and still sitting and thinking, how do I say no on the negotiation table?
Yeah.
Okay, how do I? The second meeting, which was about how to negotiate, it was it was kindergarten questions at senior level.
Yes.
But why? Because there was an environment where they could place that question.
Yes.
Otherwise, most of these women are in rooms where power works against them.
Yeah.
And they internally self-negotiate.
Yeah.
They do not understand the value they bring to the table because the entire ecosystem has told them that they bring less value than they actually do. And while there is so much opportunity to talk, there is also a lot of embarrassment that they carry within them.
Yes.
By the belief. And it left me really thinking, what do we do about you? So these are what I call the wicked beautiful problems. They're so well packaged.
Yeah.
You see a well-dressed woman with a good designation and you think she has arrived.
Yeah.
Women empowerment ho gaya.
Yeah.
But she's dying inside.
Yes.
Okay. Because what she wants, self-doubt, guilt, continuously being gaslit is so real, and it has no name. It has no design.
Yes.
It is like air, I feel.
Yes.
And that is also the reality of today's woman who has for us it was black and white,
Yes.
Science nahi loge to papa naraz ho jayenge, pass nahi honge to shadi nahi hoga, that kind of thing. Here you have women who apparently have it all, but actually are in deep distress because they don't feel they can now voice themselves out.
Yeah. And I think these problems are real. And, even though I've grown up like literally in an organization like Wipro, when I took on this role, or even when I was first a part of the audit committee, I had the same doubts. And I didn't even realize I had it till one of the audit committee members, she took me aside and she said, I realize that you sit at the edge of the chair and you're so rushed in your presentation. I just want to let you know that you're no longer being judged for whether you can get this role. You are here. It belongs to you. Now sit back, relax, and tell us your story. And that brought my attention to really how I was feeling. And then, coaching really helps.
Yes.
I think, like you said, a safe space to express. That's something that as organizations, we must do to our young leaders, especially in the middle layers.
Yes.
Coach them that to be assertive is not wrong. To say no is not wrong, as long as it's logical.
Yes.
Go ahead and express it.
Yes.
Right? Fake it till you make it. Also works.
It works.
You have to, and I'm telling you again, this is gender neutral. Maybe, we feel it a lot more. We're talking about it, but I can tell you that the stress on the other side is real,
Absolutely. They are faking it till they're making it.
Yeah. I have butterflies before every, big meeting, and that is real. And it is not something that I'm not expected to have. Right. So I had this coach, and, again, grateful to the organization for saying, investing. And I really didn't think this is how it was going to help me. But, what are the stories? Bringing attention to what are the stories you're telling yourself in the head. Right. There are, like they say, in a conversation, there are always 3 conversations, right?
Correct.
One between the people and one that's happening inside the head of the 2.
Yes.
And so what are you really telling yourself?
Yeah.
When you're negotiating, what are you really telling yourself as you're gearing up? And it's inner work. It's not easy.
It's not.
And perhaps it's a little bit more difficult for women because, like you said, it's how you are brought up. And not just as a woman. I mean, I feel like I have the core middle class values.
Oh, yes.
How do I cannot wish them away.
Yes.
I do not have.
It's a reflex.
Yeah. I'm hoping that my daughter will actually work from a sense of confidence.
Yes.
Of, though we think that the next generation is so entitled, are they going to work hard? But I think they will have their own strengths that come from a sense of feeling secure and in a good place, as opposed to us who always felt the perennial underdog.
Absolutely.
Now, these are things, and they play into, self-doubt, guilt, your ability to negotiate, your ability to wield power, not just negotiate.
To wield power also, You underuse the power you already have.
Exactly. And that's part of it is my gender. Part of it is also how I was raised. Part of it is what I believe is virtues.
Yes. And part of it is simply me going with the flow. Right? And then, the people around the table, the expertise. But I think all of this
can be overcome if you bring your attention to it.
Yes.
Right. And how do you bring your attention to it? By actually seeking, one thing that I don't think we do enough is really invest in our own professional growth.
Yes.
Like, are you really spending that money to take that extra course? Are you taking that time off to really go away somewhere and learn something? Right? Because I do think the other gender does it far more proactively.
Far more proactively.
If I think women were given the time, they would put it back into their families or their, something that's more social. There's, you cook a better meal. Do up your home.
You make up for some kind of guilt. You compensate somewhere else.
But I think just bringing the attention, saying, hey, it's not bad to do the rest. It's certainly important, but can I also find that me time?
Yes.
It could be just an hour a week. It could be about having a coach who can then bring your attention to some of these stories you're telling yourself when you're nervous. Or how do you work on it? There are, you just realize there are so many frameworks available, so many coping mechanisms available. If used well, it may not perfectly solve your problem, but certainly, over a period of time, there will be growth.
Did you catch yourself do any of this at any point?
Yeah, I've been doing this now for the last several years.
No, as in the realization that, why am I doing this in my free time? Or why am I not putting myself first? Have you caught yourself or you've had other people tell you first?
I just look at, how much time my spouse gives to just learning and doing newer things, as opposed to how much time would I give.
Yeah.
And I think, I just looked at it and said, listen, I have to, find that me time to read, to talk to people, to go out there and have a cup of coffee with someone.
Correct.
It is important to network. It is, and these are things that don't come naturally to me. I would be a home bird, but I do push myself.
Yeah.
And what I have told myself is I can't be good at everything, and I'm also kind to myself. But I say, listen, a little not just good.
Yeah.
So this is something like, like I said, the art of networking, the inner work that you need to do is so important for just growth.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are things that come to me. I think hopefully in your other podcasts, there are more venues, better ways, but I do think this is
No,
important.
I was actually going to compliment you. This is so fundamental and so important.
Yeah.
Especially that part that you just said of being kind to oneself.
Yeah.
Because across, like whether it was on in these 3 rooms that I was alluding to, or women across, I find women being so unkind to themselves.
Yeah.
So brutal with self-evaluation.
Yes.
That we don't even need enemies.
Yeah.
We don't need anybody else to gaslight us because we have done that job very successfully ourselves.
Exactly.
So that is a real thing.
Yeah. I was in a panel, and until then, I thought my job was to go out there and tell people, oh, you can be this, CXO, or, in those days, I was reporting to a CFO, and even that was a big deal. So everybody was like, come on to this panel and inspire many people. Then I realized that I cannot put that pressure of even achieving on people. I've now come to realize that there is no one success formula. Okay, there is no one destination. Just try and be a slightly better version of yourself. I think improvements need to be incremental. Just adjust yourself. And because, again, what you said, I found so many people feeling that pressure that, why am I not so and so? Or, I found so many people coming and telling me, I did so well in this examination. I did excellent in my first 5 years, but now I'm nowhere. And, feeling so unhappy with themselves. And my heart just went out. I don't think all of this is within one's control.
No,
I think
it's
what
not.
is important is to realize there is no one destination.
Absolutely.
There is no one formula for success.
Yes.
It is about making improvements and being a better version of yourself.
Yes.
But I do think one thing we should change is to know what you want once you know what you want, do you have the liberty and the environment for you to get there?
Yes.
And that's what I ask everybody. And again, it's a gender neutral conversation, but more for the women.
No, it is a gender. You're absolutely right. The men suffer from this a lot too.
Yeah.
But with women, it is many times worse.
Yeah.
But we can't say that it's like a 1-0 nahi chal raha hai.
Yeah, it's a guilt. In women, it is like, oh, what could have been?
Yeah. And there's also a lot of emotional exhaustion.
And sometimes, and I think everybody goes through it, right? Like, sometimes as someone who's successful or seemingly successful in a corporate life like me, would worry about, am I giving my child enough time?
Yes.
And I'm reminded of it in the lift of my apartment. I'm reminded of it in my, even in
the
office.
Blinking of your phone all the time.
Yeah. I think in like so many people, the first thing they said, oh, your child, she's a very young child for you. So I was wondering, what is the tragedy that's happened? I thought this is something I should be happy about. And people would say, oh, she's so young. And
Ghar pe akeli hai.
Recently I saw a stand-up comedian's piece on this. And I so agree, like society progressive ho gayi hai. They want homely educated.
Yes.
So they want education too. So,
yes. Now you want post-grad housewives.
So, I think, see, let's be honest, yes, we feel things can be better, but we are all evolving.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't think what I thought of gender 20 years before. Like, my sense of what gender parity was when I was starting my career to what I think gender parity is today is different. What I felt, the male stereotype that I had, like, my thoughts of, what it is, what roles genders play has evolved.
Yes.
So, again, therefore, you have to be kind to people. So, it's a growth. Now, just because you think a certain way, there should be always room for another opinion.
Correct.
But as long as it's just that room for you to see a difference, I think we are all fine.
For that oxygen to come in and the carbon dioxide to go out.
That's it. I'm just looking for space.
Yeah.
Saying that, do you want to do this? I will help you.
Yeah.
You want to do this? That's always an option. So you're returning back. Do you want to do this? I can help you. But that choice is yours. You can't force it. Just like how we just spoke about, right? Like, Indian parents not wanting to force their children into always taking science.
Yeah.
It's a choice. Like everything needs to be a choice.
Yes.
And as long as people are making their choices, I think we are progressing.
Yes. I'm speaking to you also as someone who is in an enabling role.
Yes.
And clearly from our conversation, you've had two very important kinds of facilitation in your life, which is a set of parents who were enablers.
Yeah.
Who pushed you forward, and always somewhere there was like, you have to be independent.
Yes.
And you also had your early mentors and bosses who treated you with respect and did not dismiss your opinions, and also made sure that you have your own valid space. Today as a leader yourself, where one is to have a great organization, but we also deal with externals. We also have to stand up for our people and externals. Do you see this glass ceiling / imposter syndrome mindset even now blocked in the same way in the young women and men now?
I think so, right? Because my personal experience is not that. But when you look at the numbers, they say, right? Like,
the numbers talk.
Numbers talk louder than,
yes.
We're not doing enough.
We're not.
Now, are corporates not doing enough? Is the society not doing enough? Is that family not, or is that individual not doing enough? I think it's a combination of everything. But I don't think we should just belabor on the problem. I think that we should leave that to analysts, right? Like there will be people come out on studies, surveys, reports, that's fine. But I think someone who's very action oriented.
Yeah.
I think there are, like I said, as an organization, we are committed to, like I said, Begin Again is a program.
Yeah.
Hand-holding people during maternity, the hybrid working place, giving people the flexibility. If you're a primary caregiver for a certain phase in your life, and everybody is going to have that phase, where you have to take care of aging parents or children who are growing up, adolescents. You do need someone who wants to take a sabbatical or who wants to work from home. And today technology has enabled it, and we are certainly in a much better pace. If I must say that has COVID had any silver lining, one of the things that I would say is this hybrid working, which was not as much.
It was not at all. Even Zoom calls became a thing later.
And we realized that we could function quite well.
Yeah.
And now today, I think we are operating in a manner where, 3 days at work, 2 days you still have every day in a week where you can do that little bit more with your family. You can be present. And even things like I said about like well-being.
Yeah.
Now, these are all things as an organization you need to keep focusing on.
Yes.
And more than just, let's say, DEI as an agenda, I think what we believe is inclusive. Being inclusive is so important. Now, it takes the gender out of the equation, but just for everybody.
If we only treat each other as humans first, it would ease a lot of the problems that are coming instead of assuming that certain kinds of people have certain kinds of set skills. Because our beliefs are also as old as us.
Yeah.
That's also true. I mean,
true.
But if we are practicing basis our beliefs from 2-3 decades ago, then there is a serious problem in how we are passing on the problem.
Exactly.
The newer generation has newer problems.
Yeah.
The stereotypes are a different complexity
Body
now.
Shaming.
Very, very, very.
To stick to a particular.
Exactly. What are the things that you're seeing that are really bothering you about the way we are grooming, these genders now, the younger people now?
Certainly, social media is a big thing that, again, people have to deal with, the youngsters have to deal with, which we didn't have to deal with.
Correct.
The perception of image is far more, right? Acceptance is something that they earn for and they don't get enough of it. I think trolling is real. Bullying is I think it's just a reflection of how competitive and unkind we've become.
Correct.
Right. And this is not just true for adults. I mean, I think it's a lot more for the younger generation.
Kids are exposed to so much unkindness that there is a bit of unkindness that is settling in people themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's brutal. I mean, I think the sense of what humor is changed.
Oh, yes.
I see my, daughter naturally taking to things like roasts, things that we were very, very sensitive to. There is one aspect where, it asks you not to be sensitive, but, human beings are sensitive, right? And is there like pressure that it tips over? These are all things like cyberbullying.
Yeah.
These risks are real, what they have to tend with just in the, the deep fake and everything is just mind-boggling.
And as a working mom who is again in a position of deep influence with a order, this does become an additional huge thing on your mind, on my mind, on your mind, on the mothers now.
Yeah.
And there is no playbook, if ever there was any playbook, but now there is absolutely not, because the problems are evolving as we are sitting here today. Yeah. We suddenly discover new things every day we go back home. And how do you cope with that?
Exactly. And I think I'm learning, like you rightly said, none of us know exactly how to cope with it, but we're all figuring it out. I go back to what I said. I share my problems.
Even at home with your daughter?
Even with my daughter. Like I feel that, when you share what you're feeling, hopefully it also gets her to share what she's going through.
Beautiful.
Yes. So if you're really, sharing the anxieties and pressure and what you were successful in or what you think you goofed up with in a very nice way with your children, I think it also provides them the space. But, it's so important that you take the time out. I think time is so critical because, these things can't happen saying, okay, I have 20 minutes now, start.
Yeah, start. Tell me what happened today.
And sometimes I am in that phase.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my daughter and I'm saying, I don't have all day. Quick, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you're doing with all your team, saying that you should have done your homework before you come and ask me, I don't have the time. You can't do that You have to switch off. You have to unlearn and then, turn back in.
Absolutely.
So yeah, yeah, I'm learning. I don't say that I'm doing a good job of it every day.
Why not? But you are.
But, like I said, go back to being kind.
Yeah.
Saying, you're human. There will be some days you will get it wrong. And then you pick it up from there and I think the same thing with my daughter. She's getting in, she's 12 now. So, these are conversations, that, you need to have. You're right. She's going to have newer problems that I've not faced.
Yeah.
How do I help her cope with it? It's going to be something that, we'll all have to work it out.
Yes, we all have to work it out. And it's remarkable that I speak to a CFO, a CA, and the most beautiful thing outside of all the beautiful things that I've heard today is that we have to be kind to ourselves.
Yes.
It is. And how we have to be kind to ourselves. And only then we can extend kindness to our people who depend on us, whether they're in offices, whether they're young, old, men, women, or our children who definitely deserve more than what we had.
Absolutely.
Yes. This has been incredible. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you for so sharing all your thoughts with us. And I have to, acknowledge that we all saw Wipro from the outside. We all saw the founder from the outside. We all know there are certain values. But to hear someone like you who's risen up the ranks here, share what it takes to make a great corporate environment where young people can be who they are unabashedly and manage their guilt and their overcompensation. It's just been, I wish this template just multiplies. More power to all of you and to you as well.
Thank you so much. And I've enjoyed this conversation. It's always good to reflect. Yeah. And that's what this has been. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and wish you a lot of success in your career, even going forward.
Thank you so much. I need it.
Thank you.
Thank you.